Today I am in the gorgeous French town of Chateadun in the Loire region of France. I have come here to find the then and now location of one of my favourite armoured vehicles of World War II, the King Tiger. After the landings in Normandy on the 6th of June 1944, the Allies would fight for weeks in the beachhead area. The Americans would fight up the Cotentin Peninsula towards the vital port of Cherbourg, while the British and Canadians engaged the panzer divisions of the Wehrmacht and Waffen-SS around the Norman city of Caen. Following the breakout during Operation Cobra at Saint-Lô in July, and the success of Operation Bluecoat with the capture of Montpensant, the highest point in Normandy, and the subsequent crushing of the failed German counterattack of Operation Lüttich at Mortain, the Germans were in full retreat towards the Seine River and the relative safety of the eastern bank. General George S. Patton's Third Army was sweeping through France, making great gains, along with the British, Canadian, Free French, and Polish forces as they closed the pocket around the remnants of Army Group B at Falaise. In front of the Third Army stood the small French town of Chateadun. It was here on the 17th of August that the town was captured by the 35th Infantry Division, but on the 16th of August the German army would lose 3 of its highly prized King Tigers, and in this episode we'll look at a series of then and now photos of one of those King Tigers at Chateadun. There were only actually 4 units from the German armed forces that fought in Normandy that were equipped with Tigers, so Tiger 1s and Tiger 2s. There were the 2 Schwerer SS Panzerabteilungs, or heavy SS tank battalions, and that was 101 and 102, and they just had Tiger 1s. There was Schwerer Panzerabteilung 503, which was German army, regular forces, if you will, and they had Tiger 1s and Tiger 2s. And then where I am today, here in Chateadun, there was the Schwerer Panzerkompanie 316 Funkleck, and they were equipped with 5 Tiger 2s. And what's really cool about this place, if you know your Tiger tanks and your German armour in general, you'll know that the Tiger 2 kind of went through some different development stages. There was the early turrets and then the main production turrets, and a lot of things were changed on the vehicles due to design requirements and general design improvements. But it was here in this location, in this town, where there's some great then and now opportunities for one of those very early Tiger 2s that was abandoned here on the 16th of August 1944. There's a couple of points that make these particular Tigers that were here in Chateadun interesting. Now, first of all, the company that they were part of, the 316 Funkleck, and what that basically means is they were the command vehicles for radio-controlled vehicles that they would be able to drive remotely into enemy positions and then detonate. And they were using the Sonderkraft Fahrzeug 301 Borgward, and that was a very it wasn't a small vehicle, it was on the big end of small and the small end of medium, if that makes sense. And they would be able to command those vehicles, drive them into positions and then detonate them. So quite a cool bit of technology for the time, and that's one reason why I am so interested in German armour, because they were so innovative. But it was here in Chateadun in August 1944 that the 5 Tigers from Panzerkompanie 316 Funkleck were in and around this area waiting for the Americans to come. And they were received by the unit in March 1944, and upon their receipt onto the unit wasn't that happy with them, and there's probably a good reason for this. The 5 Tigers that they received here were the very first production Tiger 2s, which is just really cool, and when I show you the photos in a second you'll be able to see why. So having those early production Tiger 2s, still a lot of problems with them. You know, they hadn't really seen much use in the field, so there was still a lot of essentially on-the-job development work that needed to be done. When the Germans started pulling back from this area, they ended up with some of them breaking down, so they were only able to, I think, in the end drive out 2. The other 3 Tiger 2s were left in this location. And there were some great photos taken of Tiger 11 after Chateadun was liberated on the 17th of August. So fortunately, when the Tiger that we're going to look at broke down and when it was then subsequently pushed off of the road, it's obviously a big 69-ton roadblock is not desirable if you're trying to move troops and trucks down a very long straight road. The Americans, when they finally made it here to Chateadun, they then pushed it off into the side of the road. So if we look at this here, so that's the King Tiger in question. And that's the view as it stands today down the Boulevard Kellerman here in Chateadun. Now, one thing, if we take a closer look at the photo, you can see that it's got what's typically but very incorrectly known as the Porsche turret. It's got the rounded front face to it. So you can see from looking at the turret, and what I was saying about it being a Porsche turret, or people calling it a Porsche turret, is incorrect. These were the first 50 turrets manufactured by Krupp Steel, the well-known German armaments manufacturer, and they were going to be used on what was going to be the Porsche design chassis. It never materialized, so in the end they were fitted to the Henschel designed chassis, as you can see it on there, but only 50 were made, and then it became the more common production turret used on the Henschel chassis. But that's where the popular misconception of the Porsche turret King Tiger versus the Henschel turret King Tiger comes from. But it's great, we can see photos here, and there are a load of US GIs climbing all over it. We can clearly see the tank's identifying number from its unit, which is turret number 11, or tank 11. And you see it there. The building with the white there, it's changed. It hasn't got the sort of window light in the roof anymore. It's clearly undergone a little bit of remodeling, and it doesn't have Dubonnet painted on the side anymore, but still very much that building and the same layout. And this is another good view of it as well that I really like. You can see some of the armoured skirt is missing off just underneath where the barrel is, and the muzzle brake, and that's missing. And that's the view today. Sadly, those garages taking it up, but what I really like about it is you can see the GIs climbing all over it, and this clearly would have been a lot of farmland. Now, I think some of the original buildings do remain. We'll look at those in a second. I'll admit this one isn't really a then and now per se, but it is the direction in which the tank was facing after it was driven off the road, or pushed off the road, I should say. And that's the view today, so we've got that modern building there. But looking at the image, what I think is really cool, a couple of local French lads doing what any young boy would do, or any grown man would probably do as well, which is clamber straight on top of that massive tank and take a look on the inside. But one detail in the photos that's really cool is you can see the massive 88 shell there lying just down by the tracks, and the local lads there on top of it. All right, now this is a really interesting photo. So we can see it's again similar sort of angle. Got those buildings there that we've seen, and we can see those in the background just between the two French civilians and the GI that are stood on the left-hand side, the front left side of the tank. But if we look at the turret closely, just behind the number 11, you see that massive impact point, clearly been shot at by a high-velocity shell. It's penetrated. You can see the spall either side of the entry point. But on the other images of the tank, there's no exit. So my theory with this is that when the Americans turned up here, and unfortunately there are no images that exist, but it's just my theory, that when they parked it up, they thought, well, let's see how good our ammunition is. Put one round into the turret, see what it does. A lot like the men from the 504th testing Panzerfaust and Panzerschreck down at the Tiger in Le Glaise. But I think that was a US round that was put in. It wasn't as a result of combat. I think when the tank came down here, when it was still under German hands in mid-August 1944, the thing just broke down and they decided to abandon it rather than try and repair it because they didn't have the time or the spares to do so. So that's my thoughts on why it's got that great big hole on the side of the turret. But here's another interesting one. It's really hard to sort of match this one up, but again, it's a slightly different angle, just coming to the right of the building that appears, that you can see on the screen there and that appears in the other ones. But above those garages, there's a tree, but you can also see there's that big grey slate roof. And I think that is that roof there. Clearly these old wooden barns are knocked down long ago, but it makes sense that being a farm, you can see a farm shed back over there as well. It's definitely from this position or thereabouts.
Chateadun was finally liberated on the 17th of August 1944 by the 35th Infantry Division. On the 16th of August, a Major Charles Ketterman and his driver, Private Ernest A. Jenkins of the US Quartermaster Corps, had entered the town thinking it was unoccupied. After taking fire from a German machine gun position, the two of them destroyed it and then proceeded to engage the remaining German infantry in the town for 8 hours before taking prisoners and handing them over to the lead units of the 35th Infantry Division. The road where King Tiger 11 was abandoned by the Germans on the 16th of August 1944 is now known as Boulevard Chateadun in honour of Major Chateadun. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of World War II Wayfinder and looking for this really early King Tiger that was left abandoned here in Chateadun in August 1944. If you have, please hit that like button. It really means an awful lot to the channel. So I will see you all in the next one.